So, hi everyone. I'm in the middle of preparing for Dublin Veg Fest, doing some badges for sale because that's our main form of income and it is important therefore. And I thought I'd have a break, and I thought, well, what should I do for my break? So, this is what I'm going to do. This is a follow-up really to, I did a video called The Vegan of Alcatraz, not really, and that was about my time in prison when I was regarded as Mr. Vegan, and there's a little story about that. And so this is kind of part of the kind of little mini-series that I'm doing, which is called Tales from an Activist Past. And I promised that I would talk about a time when I saw some baby rabbits touching grass and the earth for the first time. So there was an Animal Liberation Front raid in the 1980s on a farm in Cheshire, in England, where they bred rabbits for both fur and vivisection. And after the raid, it must have been sort of a day or two after the raid, I was asked to meet a car, which I did, and I was taken to what they call a safe house, and I was taken there with a blindfold on, so I didn't know where I was. I knew I was in the city of Liverpool, that's about it. And there was a rather large house, as I remember, and when you got in, we went down to the basement, and in the basement there was some boxes containing these baby rabbits who had been liberated a few hours earlier. And yeah, so I suppose it must have been the next morning, I suppose. I can't quite remember that detail. And the basement was one of those where you'd walk down into the basement, and then there was some stairs up and out, and there was a door with a window in it, and you would walk up some stairs to a backyard, which was kind of like almost like a lawn area, but with kind of flowers and I think there might be some vegetables. But the thing I remember about the this particular place was it had very large walls all the way around it, like 12 feet high type of thing. So it was very secure, and presumably that's one of the reasons why this place was thought of as a safe house. And so I witnessed these rabbits being taken out of their boxes and placed on the ground. And it's one of the most vivid memories that I have, and I've never forgotten it. And I've never forgotten the look on the rabbits' faces in particular. What happened was, when they were placed on the ground, and we have to remember here that we're talking about a very young and juvenile rabbits. They'd been bred in a breeding box, I suppose, but they'd experienced all their lives being in a cage, as it were, like a battery cage for chickens. And so they'd felt nothing really besides wood and maybe a bit of bedding and also metal cage. So when they were placed on the ground, they immediately touched the ground, and all of them, the first thing they did is they fell to the ground, squashing their bellies to the ground because they were apprehensive about what they were experiencing. And then within a few seconds, I remember them kind of starting to reach their paws out, and then they started to kind of claw the earth a little bit, and just very kind of slowly, kind of almost kind of like going, okay, I'm getting the hang of this type of thing. And I remember looking in the faces of the rabbits, and the look of absolute joy and pleasure in their eyes. It was one of those where you could just tell by the way that their eyes changed and moved and kind of half closed and glazed over almost, that they were absolutely loving it, you know, and that was their first experience of ever touching grass. And so they kind of collectively did that for a few minutes. And then within 10 minutes, they were like hopping around together, jumping over each other, running around, as you would kind of see rabbits, you know, in a more, you know, conventional circumstance, and you know, more kind of normal run of the mill type of experience of seeing rabbits. And so very quickly they kind of recognized what was going on, and they just jumped for joy, really, literally. It's very similar to, you know, I've also seen, you know, ex-battery chickens being taken out of cages for the first time. And of course, what's interesting there is if the cages are liberated as well as the hens, as it were, if you open the doors, the hens don't voluntarily come out. They just stay there. They're kind of institutionalized. And so they have to be lifted out. But again, you know, within a few minutes and certainly a couple of days of that, then they're kind of like running around scratching and pecking and all the rest of it that they should have been doing right from the start. So it's a real kind of joy to see that. And so that's all I wanted to say, really. I kind of promised this video to someone, and it was something that is very vivid in my memory. I don't remember all the details about getting there and the car and all that kind of stuff, but I remember seeing them being placed on the ground, and I remember their bellies going down, and I remember their paws, and I remember most of all the sheer joy in their eyes, their benefit from their liberation. Absolutely marvelous. Okay, that will do. Roger and out. I'll see you next time.